A couple weeks ago, we put out a video about CITES and Lacey, explaining the laws and the international regulations around these two things, because I know as a builder, this has always been a murky topic. When I talk to other builders in the community, they're equally confused by this. We have an expert on our team that knows all about these laws, has dealt with them for decades, and we thought it'd be great. And wow, what came back was you guys had a lot to say. We thought it would be a good idea to come back, maybe share a little bit more about CITES and Lacey, because we saw that there was still a little confusion. So, Luisa Willsher is back with us. This time she's in Spain, and she will be joining me on Zoom.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. Let's look at some of the things that people had to say. One of the folks made a comment. It said, maybe I should forget about building the custom electric guitar I was planning to build. It sounds like I'll need a bunch of paperwork just to build it, and let alone sell it.
Well, no, don't stop making guitar ever. The only species that right now is in CITES 1 is Brazilian rosewood. So yeah, I think that we just need to focus on that.
Because at this point, CITES 2, it's like you can export CITES 2 without any paperwork.
You're right there, Brock. But I think that if you keep your paperwork, then should that species ever go into CITES 1, then you already have proof that it was already harvested and already in your workshop and legal, complying with the CITES regulations before you started making that guitar.
Let's go on to another comment. It said, I've been building guitars for 49 years and I've got rosewood, cocobolo, mahogany, and ebony in my shop. I still have a lot of Spanish cedar from before that. It's impossible for me to verify this wood since it's been with me so long. More than a few suppliers back then are no longer in business. So, question mark.
Again, these species are not in CITES 1, so you don't need proof of when it was purchased. But if it does go into CITES 1, then you do need to lift your hand up.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So one is, I think we made a big point about this before, but it seems like not everybody caught it, is that if you are holding woods that maybe they're in CITES 2 now or CITES 3, if they get promoted, ultimately, let's say to CITES 1, there will be this period where we know about it before it happens, and that you can, quote, raise your hand. So Luisa, how would somebody do that raising of their hand thing?
Even just an email written to Fish and Wildlife, in this case of the United States, saying, to whom this may concern, I have this amount of wood in my stock of these species. I have heard that they will be entering CITES 1 in the future, and this is how many cubic meters that I have. Or however you want to say it, how many sets of backs and sides. If you're asked for it 3 years down the road, you have an email that proves that you did this, just some proof.
And I would presume that any documentation you could create at that point would be valuable, like photos and...
There's nothing written down in, black and white as to how to prove the age of wood. In conferences that I've attended to, the US government, for example, has said, photographs of, your grandfather standing by the wood, some kind of proof.
Well, right.
So
but I mean,
in black and white as to instructions.
Right. But like a thing you might be able to do, like if you did contact Fish and Wildlife and said, hey, here's pictures of everything I've got, and that was attached in that email, there's going to be a timestamp on that email, then it's like, it should be very clear that I had all of these pieces of wood before the convention.
Exactly, yeah. Just an email proving that, hey, I contacted you guys.
And I think one of the things we talked about in the video, which I'm particularly bad at, but I will get better at as a result of that conversation, is keeping good records of where you got this wood, when you bought it, where it came from, all of that as well. I mean, that would even further support your claim.
Always saying the name of the company that you bought it from. Maybe that company doesn't exist anymore, but you can say, hey, this is something that I can prove that I bought this wood back in those days.
Okay, what's going on? It says, this information, though very illuminating, is also exceedingly disturbing. As a beginning semi-pro, part-time luthier, I've recently acquired some Wangi, Paduke, and Babinga veneers that are 1/8 of an inch thick or more, was typical sizing of 100 years ago, from a professional woodworker who is downsizing his shop and liquidating his wood supply. When I asked him how long he's had it, he said over 30 years, and he got it from another wood shop that closed down. So I'm at least the third guy in the chain to own this wood. Quite frankly, it's heinous to suggest that I, nor anyone else, can ever make anything, guitar or otherwise, for selling to a customer, and I must burn it or use it for my own personal use. I've always respected the CITES Treaty, and it does have merit, but there should be some latitude for woods that are so good that they're not wasted due to bureaucratic rigidity.
Totally. Please don't burn any wood.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Like I said, Paducah was included in Appendix 2 very recently, and
Right.
the previous COP, so 3 years ago. Just some kind of documentation. This is what I have. It's Paducah from whatever country, or even if you don't know what the country it is, it's Paducah, and I have it in my inventory. Once you make it into a guitar or an instrument or a table, it doesn't require CITES permits. And it probably won't for many, many years if it ever does. So, but it's just good to keep documents.
So, okay, Luisa, here's one more. It says, this is all in theory, really. The day-to-day practice is somewhat distant. I think they meant different. First of all, most customs agents can't tell a hamburger from a cheeseburger. Also, having traveled internationally by air with guitars a number of times, I can say with fair certainty that the majority of customs agents do not care, especially if you have a flight arriving at 5 a.m.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. Yes, there are over 35,000 species of wood and animals and parts, obviously, and derivatives in CITES. So yeah, I totally agree that of course custom agents don't have knowledge of all of those species and whatever, but we have to know just in case they want to confiscate that object.
I guess the way I look at this is I look at it like speeding, right? It's like, you drive faster than the speed limit, nothing happens, all good.
No one gets,
But it doesn't
yeah,
mean
you don't
it
get
won't
caught.
happen, right? It doesn't mean it won't. And the reality of it is if it does, that it could result in you losing your guitar. It's a risk. And it's like, do you want to take that risk?
But I think that we shouldn't be worried about these new regulations. They are new, yes, they're new to all of us, relevantly new. But times change. Years ago, you didn't have to wear a seatbelt in the car, and now you wouldn't even think of not fastening your seatbelt before you drove off.
Some of the comments, at least the general feel is like, you're stepping on our rights. I think that people are believing that it's very hard to do these things. It's very hard to travel with a guitar. I don't think that that's really where we wanted to lead people. I think what we said is that you need to get a passport.
Let's say I'm traveling out of the country with my guitar. What do I need to be aware of that I don't get hung up at the border?
Okay, so if the guitar is made of Appendix 2 or Appendix 3 listed species, then as of today, you don't require a CITES permit of any type. However, if your guitar is made with a CITES 1 listed species, like Brazilian rosewood, or elephant ivory, or marine tortoiseshell, or any other species that could be listed in CITES 1 in the future, to travel with your instrument, you require a passport, a CITES passport.
I mean, okay, sure, it's a little bit of a hassle, right? To fill out some paperwork and get your passport, but it's not a big deal.
Times are changing, and we're trying to take care of the world of tomorrow. By doing that, we have to do paperwork, bureaucracy. And bureaucracy sucks for the majority of us because we don't really want to be doing that. We just want to carry on with our lives. I do remember one comment on the videos. Shouldn't it be the people who are harvesting the wood that should be taking care of all this stuff? I totally agree. And my colleagues in the industry totally agree. It's the people who are harvesting the wood that should be complying with the regulations. 100%. Now, what has happened in the past is that species have been listed in CITES, and there have been these loopholes that the illegal operators have been able to get through. That wood is now free of CITES and free of control. So this is why CITES have become more constricted, more restricted. We know that more species are going to be included in CITES, so let's just adapt and just learn how to comply. And also, I know that the authorities will make it easier for us. Bit by bit, they will get adapted to the regulations. So once we're all used to it, including the authorities, then I think that everything will become easier.
Okay, great. Well, thank you once again. Before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
Keep building those beautiful guitars. We have some fantastic wood out there. There are lots of suppliers that are trustworthy suppliers. Document everything that you buy, that you have in stock, to make sure that you can prove that your wood is legal and complies with CITES regulations.
We'll go ahead and put an email address in the description, but if you have specific questions, feel free to send them to us. I mean, remember, we're not lawyers, but I think that, we do have experience in the field, so if you want to send those in to us, your specifics, we'll at least kind of advise you and point you in the right direction. So with that,
Thank you. Hopefully this clears some things up. And, like I say, if you've got questions, let us know. Talk to you soon.